Arizona can do better. No matter how many jokes you make about Phoenix, it's a good town. Mm-hmm. And we can do good things here.
Sure, yeah.
And one of them is this award for Janet. Now, in truth, we didn't know what to say on it. Mm-hmm. And I thought about calling you guys, but I found the answer.
I would have taken too long
to
decide.
It was just like, yeah, and now that I know how indecisive you both are individually, I'm not calling you for anything. But it was like, best actress is so cliche. Best comedic performance. Mm-hmm. That was high in contention. Mm-hmm. But then we were at a friend's house. And it's actually two musicians that are in a band together, the band JJCNV. Mm. And so, and they're married. And so the husband, Pete, gave his wife, Dana, a trophy that says, has her name on it and then says winner. And I was like, fuck yeah, that is exactly what we're going with. You know what? Because Darcy Carden's a winner.
Yeah.
Janet really helped us last year. Mm-hmm. It was good. It was a nice anchor.
Yeah, it really was.
In an otherwise dark time, she was a buoyant light.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so we tried to express that in trophy form. Thank you, Sun Devil Trophy, for your assistance on that front.
That was Sun Devil Trophy?
Yeah.
Sun Devil Trophy.
Yeah, no.
That's our first sponsor, Dan. I didn't know it.
Well, they didn't, it was not really sponsors, but they're friends. And so they helped us.
And neighbors, right?
Friends and neighbors, yeah. So they helped us pull
Well, they
this
did
together.
a lovely job. They really
did.
did.
Mark did the trophy himself. But,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So we come from a multitude of talents at the...
Mark comes from a long line of trophy makers.
No. He's from a long line. All sorts of makers of all things. Makers of noise.
If somebody had given me a tub of Lego, I might have been able to make a Lego award.
A Lego award. Is Legos your specialty?
That was my toy. Yeah, that and Transformers.
Wow, Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Which if you haven't seen Bumblebee yet?
Yeah. See, that's what I was trying to get my nephew to go see with. I was like, go see this, and he was like, I don't know.
It's a really good '80s movie. Mm-hmm. It definitely put me in a time and place that I wanted the other films in the franchise.
It's the least grown up of them too. I think that's why I like it about it. It's got that childlike sense of wonder throughout.
It's got that kind of. There's a little bit of a John Hughes quality to it. There's a little bit of a like a War Games kind of. I would say that's actually probably a pretty apt comparison. Would be like War Games kind of thing.
I love War Games.
War Games is great.
We watched it.
Would you like?
I don't
to
know.
play
It was funny. So, what? Was there a movie that you watched repeatedly as a child that was kind of defining in your character? Because we've recently investigated this in our household and like really put some time into thinking about this question.
Oh, there are several. There's Back to the Future.
Okay, but like one that you watched like that like it would have been like somewhere between 5 and 7 years old that you watched intently that might have had more of a shaping presence in your life than you initially might have understood.
The Never-Ending Story.
I had
I mean, because at first I was like, probably Flight of the Navigator, or The Journey of Natty Gann.
Yeah.
The Journey of Natty Gann was pretty big for me. And then, but when I really thought about it, when I stripped away the obvious, when I got down to the heart of it, I was like, I used to watch this Tom Selleck movie called Her Alibi.
Oh, yes.
Constantly.
Yes, yeah.
And so my husband
I thought you might have gone for Runaways, but
my husband and I got this in VHS. Thank you, Zia, or DVD.
Oh wow, it made it to
$1.99.
Huh? Wow.
Yep, Tom Selleck, Paulina Porchikova, where he plays a crime fiction novelist.
Yeah.
Who provides a false alibi
as a buy
for was it Ukrainian or Russian circus performer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, provides a false alibi she's accused of murdering her lover.
And William, is it the guy who voices Kit? He's Hoffman's dad in The Graduate, William Daniels.
Yeah.
He's the agent.
For some reason, I was allowed to rent this constantly as a 6-year-old and watch it to no end. So that's where I realized a lot of my false notions came from. Like novelists could make a living, and the noir sense to the world around me. I have no fear of clowns, and I'm obsessed with like running away to the circus.
That's pretty interesting.
It's you got to go deep. You got to think like, what was I too young to block out that affected me?
I really like that movie. And there's a Randy Newman song at the end that I really dig too.
See, now I'm surprised at how much you guys know about this movie, because usually it's a dead wall when I talk about it.
I know Runaway
I feel that way
too.
if Runaways. Yeah, I feel that way if I bring up Quigley Down Under.
Quigley Down Under is
cool. That's good too.
See, now I could see, now if most people say the never-ending story, I'll be like, well, that's obvious, and you're probably just drawing from the air. But you two I would believe, because you were some dark motherfuckers here. And so the art, oh my God. The one time you don't want to draw a blank. Mm-hmm. The horse.
Oh, Artax.
Artax. Yeah. I did say it. And then I backtracked from my answer.
See, I have to think about that because probably the things that
crushing. That film is crushing.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is.
But I was like Bastian, where I would just read a fuck ton and just hope that somehow like I would just escape whatever mundane thing I was doing. And,
I don't know. The approach of the nothing to me was so monumentally existential at a time when I could not fully understand. It was just overwhelmingly sorrowful. That, the horse, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I could see you guys being like way too attached to this at an early age.
Well, so
like I said, I was watching Her Alibi.
I probably the thing is that the films that I watched the most probably as a kid were Return of the Jedi and Back to the Future. Those were in like constant heavy rotation. But if I think about something,
do you have an older sibling? Or
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah. What I saw, I mean, I probably would have to say Annie Hall, because I saw that at a really young age, and like I probably saw that when I was like 5 years old, and I would not have gotten that at any of the context of any of the subtext of the relationship, but there was something about, the interplay of Diane Keaton and Woody Allen together, and his neuroticism. There was something that I connected with then that never left. It was like, especially even though I didn't fully get the meaning of it until later, but the whole conversation that they have with, and I'll explain a little bit why, because it may sound like I'm making this up, but it's not. So here's some of the why. Like the idea of, like, I always felt like I had trouble, and I continue to this day, despite the fact that I talk nonstop, is that I have a lot of trouble conveying what's really on my mind. And so the scene where Woody Allen and Diane Keaton are talking to each other, but what they really mean is in subtitles underneath. Of course, later in life, I realized, oh yeah, that's a great, depiction of relationships, because, especially when you're first courting somebody, you want to seem one way, but really you want to know if they're interested in sleeping with you. But then also the part where Woody Allen goes to Diane Keaton's family for Thanksgiving, and there's the famous shot of how Grammy Hall sees Woody Allen, as this very, Hasidic rabbi type, like, even though he's not dressed that way, but you see him through her eyes, and like how there's this struggle for him to fit in. And I often felt that way in school, as especially in the kind of like middle class neighborhoods that we grew up in. There were not a lot of other Jews, and it was kind of there was that, and then also the kind of like outcast feel of it. For some reason, that spoke to me, even though I wouldn't really understand everything that was in it until much later. So I guess that's my film that I saw too young. That stuck with me forever.
Huh. Yeah. Well,
I think we all know what my movie is too. Because Chris called me out on it.
Huh?
Chris called me out on it. So at the thing, other than Neverending Story,
Yeah.
Chris called me, mentioned Jerry Maguire.
Yes.
He did that on purpose.
Yeah. Oh, he did. That was actually a dig. Did he admit later that was?
He admitted later that was a dig at me.
is this a previous episode or is this a Twitter?
No.
No.
So Jason famously loves Jerry Maguire.
Like insanely,
unabashedly, unironically loves Jerry Maguire.
And a lot of it has to do. So I worked in a movie theater growing up in the mid '90s, and it was a second run theater. So if there was something that was popular, like it would just play for months and months and months, and Jerry Maguire played for months and months and months. And I was a projection, so I had to watch it over and over and over again. And I fucking love it. I cry every time I watch it. Not at the end where Renee Zellweger says, "Shut up, you had me at hello." I cry when Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise hug at the end. Because it's just a beautiful bromance.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like soulless or heartless or something. Just the soft spots just don't get me. Titanic didn't get me.
Yeah.
No, Titanic doesn't get me.
There were a lot of like, I don't know.
I cry at every time I read The Giving Tree to my son.
Okay.
I mean, because the kid's a little jerk until the end when he's old.
God, I'm trying to think about what really gets me. Wow, total silence. That's
film-wise, I don't know what really gets me. There's music that really gets me.
Sure, I can think of more examples of.
But film, that's an interesting question. I don't know.
I don't know, like.
Yeah,
and I know there are instances of that,
Nights of
but
Cabiria, I don't really know what makes me break. What really hurts.
Well, what has started to get me is where somebody is just open. Like if somebody is just bearing themselves in front of, especially in front of another person. There's something about that, especially if it's pulled off in a way that feels honest.
Oh, see, I do. See this face.
Uh-huh.
That happens in real life too.
Yeah.
So
I'm
sorry.
The Shape of Water, I think, and that was the last movie where I just unabashedly bawled. And that's because for me, watching Guillermo, like knowing Guillermo del Toro's love of movies and how he uses them to express himself. Have either of you seen the movie?
I have not seen it.
Okay. So there's a scene in the movie where she brings this creature home and he finds refuge in a movie theater and they're watching an old horror movie. And the creature is finally like happy because he's been running from Michael Shannon for about half an hour. And I felt like, and it just kind of came over me like, this is Guillermo del Toro expressing how he feels about movies in the scene. He's the monster in a movie theater and he's happy. And I just was like, oh my God, I can't. And I just started bawling. And even Moonlight, that's how I think probably me and Barb Vandenberg started to bond a little bit. Because I unabashedly love that movie. I love that movie because I feel an honest portrayal of Barry Jenkins's life growing up, and the guy was in Miami as a gay man, and I just was like, it felt honest and real to me. So I respond to that usually in tears.
I always cry during Queer Eye.
Really?
As you should.
Yeah, that's the one thing. And so I don't want to seem like, it's not like that I'm heartless. I would think of it as more like a British reserve.
Okay.
Okay, because the side of me that is not Jewish is like puritanical British. You know that whole we came